Jesus began to cry. It's part of a much longer story, a much more involved story. But that's the reading for today. Jesus began to cry. Sometimes we have a hard time picturing Jesus crying. We have a hard time picturing Jesus mourning. This is Jesus. Jesus who raises from the dead. Jesus who does rise from the dead. This is Jesus who can heal the sick and cleanse the leper and proclaim sight and to make the blind see. Jesus cries here. He cries because his friend Lazarus has died. He goes into the town of Bethany and is confronted by Mary and Martha. And I mean that sincerely. He's confronted by them. They're upset. They're hurt. They're grieving already. And they meet Jesus there, and it's there that we see this very real physical manifestation of grief. Jesus began to cry. What I've always found interesting about this story, though, is that Jesus' tears come even though Jesus is very well aware of what he's about to do. You see, Jesus looks at the tomb where Lazarus is laid and proclaims, "Lazarus, come out." And it's out of the tomb that Lazarus walks, now alive again. If Jesus knew he was going to do that, why did Jesus cry? Why not just look at Mary and Martha and all those who were mourning and say, "Don't worry, I got this"? I wonder if Jesus wept because it was in order to give us permission to do the same. To remind us that in the midst of our grief, in the midst of our sadness, in the midst of those moments of life's trials, we are able to feel grief and sadness and hurt. We are able to acknowledge suffering while also trusting in a God of resurrection, in a God of coming back to life, in a God of restoring what is good. You see, sometimes we think that we have to do one or the other. And that as good Christians, we're supposed to just focus on the good. That's why we come up with all those sayings that we use at funerals, and I beg of you not to use these anymore. Well, God must have a plan. Or, well, we know they're in a better place. Or, my least favorite, God needed another angel. See, the reality is, none of those make us feel better. All they're doing is trying to keep us from feeling grief, trying to mask the tears. But the tears are okay. Jesus shows us that the tears are okay. The grief is okay. The hurt, and sometimes even the anger, it's okay. As long as we hold on to that other part of it. That God is a God of resurrection. God is a God of hope. Our God is a God of new life. When we hold on to that too, while allowing ourselves to grieve, we find ourselves stronger. We find ourselves more in love with God and more in awe of God. Amen.